Okay, let's get started. Hi, I'm Min from Pundert, and this program is provided by Pundert and a Vancouver Daily newspaper, which is in Korean. Okay, so now, as mentioned every recently that this I'm going to stop streaming so today and next week, and then I'm going we will I'll stream this will go on until next week, and then I'll take a break for July and August and come back with a new well this to continue with this study methods that you can use. Okay, and recently I have sent out the one of the book chapter, which is the one of the journal asked me to contribute a chapter of a book they are writing, but they're publishing. So I wrote that book, and that has some systematic way of teaching. So that will show the how the institutes like a university or the secondary school or something like that, they can design their teaching based on that, right? But that's a little different story. When it comes out, then I'll share with it on the website. As I said, that the uh, the Ponder, this my website, depender.ca will go through some major renovation. So I'm going to remove all the YouTubes or some stories except the articles, and so basically lecture videos are all in the YouTube. So you can go to the YouTube, then you can find some of those stories, and then I'm going to make the this website as more likely the company website rather than providing all the information in one place. Facebook is different and Blogger is different. So blog is blog where I put up some of the stories of the some lives or something like that. And YouTube will have the lecture, so link will be here, but other than that, everything will be removed and then provide some basic information about the company. Okay. Now, last week we have gone through with is this the right one? Let me bring up a little. Yeah, let's take a look at with this one. This is larger, so yeah. So the we have gone through with building concept, and the building concept is one of the key point for you to begin with. So what that means is that a building concept is the meaning is that let's say when you have something like this, right? Let me, which color should I use? Let's use this one. Something like this. Well, this is a concept that Newton made, Isaac Newton made, and then that I just redraw, represent because to show you what it look like. But the one of the thing is that when once these concepts are drawn, that means that these are the one already known. It turns into the knowledge, right? And this means that this is the what you need to do is that with this one, you need to turn this into the data. Okay? Yeah, you need to turn that into the data. What is the meaning of the data? It's simple. If let's think about in this way. Let's say you open up a restaurant, right? And then you are running a restaurant business, or you whatever that you do. The as the time goes, then what you need to do is you need to collect all the sales data, let's say in January and February and March and April, something like that. Just fluctuating up and down and up and down each month, right? Then generally what happens is people don't just say record these sales each day or each month, and then what type of the dish, what type of dish was sold higher and what type of dish were sold less, or each month or something like that. People don't really do this. What they do is just go like every day. Okay, today's we have sales of like about 500 or 1,000 or something like that, right? So in the if you are not able to collect the data, then later on you're not going to be able to really analyze your data. For example, let's say you all of a sudden started seeing that your sales goes down. Then what you need to do is you need to analyze which one goes down. But when you notice that the sales goes down, then it is already kind of late because as I said that everything changes in like this type of curve. So there's something happens in here. This is a sign, and then based on this sign, you need to prepare what happens in here. Or if in the case this is going down, then this sign will be right here where you can see up and down, but general trend is going down. Then you should alert yourself then to analyze what's going on. In order for you to analyze something, what you need to have is you need to have something to analyze. That's the data, right? So you need to have the data. But let's say if you didn't record any of these sales, then when it started going down, then you might notice, okay, we are started going down right now, and then this dish was not doing good, and this dish is okay, and this one is not completely crashed or something like that. Then you know when it is changed. But problem is, once you know, then damage is already done. So in order for you to prepare in the before, you need to have the data before around here, and then you need to start analyzing it based on it. So if you don't collect the data, then there's nothing for you to analyze. That means that there's nothing you can do about it. And when the your company or that your business is going down, then you will go like, oh, what should I do? And then do nothing. All right. So what this means is that whatever you are doing, you need to turn that into the data. And that is the process of turning into the data. I call it data rise, is building concept. By looking at it, right? And this one, as you can see, right? By looking at it, and now you started collect the data. What is there is a cannon, and then there is a cannonball, and then the distance was about, oh, well, let's say this is like a meter, about 10 meters it traveled. Okay, then now with a little bit more the power, then it travels to like say 100 meter or something like that. This is the data. Okay. So basically, building concept, observation, and description is the process that where you are turning into your observation into data. So dataizing the what you observe is a building concept, and that's the beginning of it. Without data, then you cannot really analyze anything. If you cannot analyze anything, then you cannot find the reasonings. And if you cannot find any reasonings, then you are not going to be able to do anything. There's no troubleshoot or any solutions. You have to find the reason why the problem happened. And then if you wanted to find the reason why the problem happened, you have to have the data, right? So building concept is basic step because you are collecting data from what you're observing, what you're given. So it doesn't really matter what kind of topics that you are dealing, and then it could be your study material or the subject that you are learning from the school, or if you're running a business, then the business itself, that what's going on inside of the business. That's what you need to once you started observing those ones, then that will turn into the data. Now what you need to do is you just need to organize it, and once you organize it, then now you are ready to analyze it. That's the process, beginning of the process. Okay, organizing meaning that you need to group them into similarity or differences, and then you categorize it. So that's another skill for you to do, right? So you have to collect data and analyze it. And in order for you to collect the data, you need to start from the observation. So observation is the one starting point, and then collecting data and analyzing it. That's simple processes. And if we once you started analyzing it, then now you can find reasoning, right? And once you find the reasoning, then there's something you can do. So think about it in this way. If your life is like a board, there's nothing you can do. Or sometimes you face some situation where you cannot do anything. That means, well, sometimes that the impact was just given right away, then you cannot do anything. But that means that the skills that you are lack of is how to collecting data and analyzing the data. So that means if you train yourself to collect the data and analyze organize it, analyzing it, and to find the reasonings out of it, and then that means your life will be very active, because now you are finding reasonings of something, and then with the reasonings you can ask further questions with why or how or something. Then there's something you can do, right? So if your life is active enough, then that means that you are constantly trying to collect the data. If your life is not active enough, that means that you are not really up to the point to collecting data. In this case, you have to start with observation. Okay, but of course, there's some differences. Something like if you are relying on some data collection from rely on the situation or any environment that force you to collect the data, then that's a different story. You have to actively engage, not passively. Okay, that's what the building concept is about. Now, once you build the concept to data rise, okay, anything you have to turn it into the data, and then that's building concept, and then you dataize these ones, then now you can organize it. How? Similarity or differences. Similarity and differences, the reason that you are group them. Well, in this case, you have to compare with some of the, in this case, you have more than two concepts, right? So in this case, there's a rocket, the cannon, and then there's a rocket. So there's two different things, right? So you build concept of the knowledge or observation. That's one data set. And then now you have several different data sets, right? Then now what you need to do is you need to categorize similarity, and differences. And what the categorization will do is will give you the power to make the connections. And this is what I'm going to show you today with it. But before going in, let's take a look at this with this one. Okay, combining them. Well, in this case, like the comparing with force and the travel distance, and then the mass of the object is a little bit different story. That's completely two different sets. It look like a mass is different from the force. Well, mass it is kind of connected with the force, because if you drop objects, then that object hit will hit the ground. As it hit the ground, then it'll transfer the energy into the ground and make the noise and make the ground go the just the go down further and make the indentation or something like that, right? So the mass itself holds the force at the same time, but in the generally that in the beginning when you start studying, this connection is not going to be there. For this one, you will have to dig up a little further, go down and deep down, and then make the connections from there. Okay, but for now, that's what I'm going to show you in today's lecture. And then, but before that, let's just take a look at with this one, what it means of the having making the connections. Okay, making the connection is as simple as like this. Once you have two, three different concepts, and then if you find the similarity and then or differences in there, and then you have to combine them and then try to come up with some of the idea about relative relationship. But this is way advanced level. If you could simulate based on relativity, then you could be like Isaac Newton or Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein, the theory is really the relativity theory, right? So relativity is there literally that he was the one that came up with the relativity. But in Isaac Newton also had a relativity because the force, the differences of the force and difference of the mass of an object have differences in the travel differences, travel distance differences, right? So it is all relative. And this relativity is very challenging for in the beginning for you to do. If you are able to do this, then you probably are the one already started noticing yourself. You probably notice by yourself saying that, oh, I'm like a Steve Jobs is not in the category. The Newton or Albert Einstein or something like that. Then you really hold the potential. But this is way advanced level. Now, then let me give you one example which I provided before, which is uh, a little bit relatively straightforward and relatively easier. That is Steve Jobs' case. Okay, all right. So Steve Jobs, when he came up with a font, right? Concept of the font. What he did was, as I said before, that he looked at the typography. My handwriting is not probably not the one that impressed him, but anyway, computer, right? Put it into the computer. Now he did this, and then you simply take a look at typography and computer. What is the connection? Where the connection is? Not many people would be easily find out the connection, but there is connection. Computer look like it is separate from the typography. But if you looked at like an old time computer, which is like a way down below and a long time ago, the computer, the characters were written like something like this, number two, and then it is like this, and A look like this, and B look like this, and C was like expressed something like this. Why? Because it is a digitalized, right? Digitalized. So basically, in the screen, you have a light screen comes in, and then based on this, you combine them how to write, and then you show that the characters like this. So there is digitalized characters on the computer. What Steve Jobs was thinking, from what I hear from his speech, is like a typography T. How to put that T into like a T like this, T like this one, right? Or F like this one. How to put this one into computer, and then instead of like a angled characters, and then how to make it curved or something like that, right? And then once this is developed, then now before, like people who designed the signs of a company or something, they have to draw F like a F and C like a C in different ways or something like this, G like a G in this way, and they have to draw everything like this on the in the to design. But now when this font came in, they don't have to draw. They just should simply select the font and then add that on and type the character. Then it just shows up right there, right? So this is the concept that the Steve Jobs came up with the font with this in this way. So there is connections, okay? And the connection is coming from the similarity. So in the beginning, okay, the connection you're gonna make is through the similarity, okay? So this is what I'm going to show you today with this one. Okay, let's go down. Now, with this one, let me give you one idea. Well, if you are able to do this, okay, then you would be the one who can develop something like tools, new tools like this. Because font, it is a tool, right? And it is required and needed by a lot of people who are designing signs or having some advertising, designing for the advertisement or something like that, right? So if you could do this, connecting concepts, then you could develop new tools based on something that exists. Well, this is the simplest way, right? And if you are able to, oh, wait, okay. If you are able to do something like this, like a combining different concepts, right? Like a sticks and vine and a stone, and then you started thinking, how do I make this, combine them together? And if you could develop this, then now this is what Steve Jobs did, right? Two different things and then connecting two different things. But the previous one is based on what you see, you just develop based on your need. But this one is what really creative thinking that something like a Steve Jobs did by connecting them, and then you think about how to connect based on the need, right? And then you should be able to develop the tool that people never thought about, like Steve Jobs did, right? So the connecting concepts will provide you to develop some creative thinking in this, like this. Okay. Yeah. But this takes some training. It's not gonna be like a the one day you do and then you can simply say, oh, that's great, and now I can do. That doesn't really do that doesn't really work in that way. Okay. So now in the connecting concept, okay, there were I'll just combine all these methods and then I'll just go by one, okay, instead of going this method and the flowchart method or something like that. I separated in the books, but yeah, that's you have to read. But I'm going to just simply show you one thing, okay? The easiest one for you to do is you find something very simple just like when you build the concept. So if you build the concept of the water, then that's the concept that you can start using right here, right? And instead of going into somewhere in the deep, now you collect all the information of what you know about related something related with the water. Easy, right? You see every day. Ocean. Well, if you are living in a land area, then you don't see it every day. But we are living in I'm living in a Vancouver area where, well, not every day, but at least once in a while, even if you drive by, you will see the ocean, right? So ocean is there, and you can see that's the sky, and then you can find various of the clouds, right? And I don't know you have noticed or not in these days, if you look up the sky and then clouds, then in because of the Vancouver area and the Burnaby and all these Surrey, we are surrounded with mountains, and because of the temperature differences from the land side and a high up mountain, cloud shapes are all variety, right? So if you have chance, then go take a look at the sky and then see that what type of the clouds you're seeing from there. And we have a lake and we have creeks and a lot of them. List everything that you know, right? And this is a very simplest way that you begin with, okay? So now once you collect all this information, the first thing you need to do is you need to build a concept of each. If you cannot describe it, if you could describe what is a creek, then that's you just write down the creek. And then always, as I said, the study had to be end with questions. That means you describe creeks, and then with the creeks, you turn the description into question, especially started with why. Okay, that's one of the part. Now, if you have no idea what is a lake, then build the concept of the lake. You can observe, right? This is a data rights, right? As I said, you have to collect the data by observation. So you observe the creek, and then you collect the data, all the information, and you describe it. That's how you organize it. Okay, organization is one of the essential part. Later on, you can separate them and then you can group them and you can use them. Without organization, then you will have a hard time to moving forward with your thinking processes. That means to finding reasonings. It will be very challenging. So you build cloud also that concepts of them. Okay. Now, as you build the concepts, now what you need to do is you separate, so you are basically separately dealing with all these data, right? Then that's okay. Now you leave it there. Now what you need to do is you need to go on with add questions to connect. Questions to connect is very straightforward. What you need to do is you just simply ask questions. How do they connected? How are they connected? How you are they related or something like that? So something like for example, cloud and ocean. Then you just add questions. Cloud, where do clouds form? Ocean. You probably already have some idea, right? So you make the connections based on how the origin, how do they, where is it coming from, or where is the river from, or where is the river flow to, or something like that. You add these questions to make a connections. Then you can add everywhere. Oops, right? You can connect this to this to this, and this to this, and anything that you see, you can make the connections. Okay? So you can make connections and you add questions. And what you need to do, because this is straightforward, and then you can easily, you have already all the information. Now what you need to do, you just put them into writing. Just like connect them and then describe them, and you put them into, well, organize it. Yeah, the organization. Uh, this is what I shouldn't skip. Yeah. One thing that in the study that what you need to really focus on is that how to organize it, right? In this case, it is relatively straightforward because you know that where the cloud forms, then a cloud moves with the wind, and then when a cloud moved, then you have like a somewhere in a near the mountain lands that where temperature drops and condensation happens and rain falls and something like that. You just make them as a sequentially and then organize in that way. This is what why you need to organize it in the in and then after that you just write down as or in a way that you organize. This is one of the part the training that you will, as I said, that force your brain to develop a reasoning skills and at the same time writing skills and organizations and more importantly, you can use this to expand your concepts further. Okay, this is the simplest way. Right? So always, as I said last week, I said it right. Talked about this. Writing is one of the key portion that you shouldn't skip. Always end with writing, and not just writing. You have to turn that into questions. Always finish the what is it the your study with the questions. Okay, that's one of the thing. So that means that you have these descriptions in here, right? Then take these and ask questions with why. Okay? Yeah. So for example, when water molecules in the cloud are condensed to form rain, lands on the ground, and then you have this, right? Why water condensed? Why water condensed? What is the factor make the water condensed or something like that? These are the questions you should make it open. Because once you start made it open in the future, when you let's say you hear about you went to the school and then or you are taking biology or chemistry or physics or whatever the class you are taking, and then because water is one of the essential component for interior chemistry and physics and everywhere because it's a characteristic of the hydrogen bond. Now, when it comes to the hydrogen bond and with temperature relation to the temperature, so this is relativity. So you are not going to be able to really come up with some of the ideas like this from the beginning. So you will have to train in the future. But when it comes to the temperature and hydrogen bond relative relationship, then you will understand better because you had the questions right here. Okay? So questions are the one of the key factors. As I said, the generally finding solutions it will would be easier if you have data. Okay, as you've seen in these days with COVID-19, that sometimes that the Dr. Henny, that she is the one providing all every day that the briefings of what's going on and how the vaccines goes on and what is the current status of the COVID-19 and something like that. What is their strategies or something like that, right? So Dr. Henry provides all these information from the BC, and sometimes you hear that we don't know yet, right? We don't know, meaning that there's no data. If they have collected the data about COVID-19 and vaccination, for example, in this case, saying that with AstraZeneca and first dose and then second dose, you doing the mix and match with Pfizer or Moderna or something like that, yeah. And then they come up saying that, well, yeah, the if we when you mix and match, then your immune system will be developed a little more stronger or something like that. That story is coming, right? But she doesn't say that out of just random thought. She has clear data because there are scientists who worked on it and then found out and actually checked the immune system development and was like, oh yeah, when you do mix and match, then immune system develop really a little more stronger and it provides more defense level, increases the defense level against the COVID-19. Then she provides those information with reasonings, right? So you can think of it in this way. Leaders, okay, leaders, whoever in the front line and then leading the teams or the well leading the teams or groups or whatever the person do as a leader, then leaders are the people who provide information based on reasonings and make a decision based on data and reasonings, right? Sometimes they don't have to collect all these data by themselves. Why? Because data will be provided by other some other people. But think about it in this way. If you didn't know how to collect the data, how you gonna ask those scientists to what to look for and then which research to do, right? If you don't know how to collect the data, then how you gonna use the data that is provided and find out the reasonings, right? So people like leaders, like Dr. Hanley, right? They trained to collect the data from the observation, collect the data, and analyze the data, and then they were good at those collecting and analyzing data. Because of that, they can lead the teams to what to do, what information to look for, and what has to be analyzed. And based on that, because if in case of like a research in the COVID-19, you cannot do all by yourself. Then what you need to do, you need to ask people who are an expert, right? Who experts, ask the people, ask the experts to collect all these information. Then based on that, leaders make decisions. So without training yourself of how to collect data, well, that's going back to the building concept. Without that processes, you are not going to be able to make the connections with this, and then you are not going to be able to make decisions, reasonable decisions. You can make a random decision saying that, okay, you had the first dose of the AstraZeneca, well, get the Moderna. You should be okay. And when people come in and asking why, they don't know because they never thought about the reasonings, right? And the same thing happens because that I listened to the radio yesterday when I when I was driving, and I listened to there was one conversation between there's from one of the person is came from COVID-19 that's the handling department. If I remember it correct, that person was scientist, and then the person was the contagious disease or developing disease, newly developing disease, like a or research on the newly developed disease like bacteria or viruses or something like that. And then that person was there, and then there was people calling in to ask questions, and then one of the person came in, called in, and then goes like just throw out all the worries of that he had like without non-stop, like without even breathing. I didn't even hear that there was no not even a pause of breathing. The person just go throughout everything and saying that, yeah, what how can we trust this decision, right? Every day decision is changing. Today, yesterday says that okay, AstraZeneca, get the AstraZeneca second dose. First dose, if you got the AstraZeneca, get the AstraZeneca for the second dose. And then after like a month or two, now suggesting that okay, you should get AstraZeneca first dose. If you got AstraZeneca, then get the either Moderna or Pfizer. If you want, then that will increase a little more immune, develop a little more immune system or something like that. And then that person asks like, what if this story turns in next several months, a month or two? or next day saying that some people develop some the side effect from the vaccination, and then adverse effect or something came in from the vaccination, and then next day changes like saying that okay, you shouldn't get Pfizer, and then let's go back to the AstraZeneca. Then what happens if I get the Pfizer for the second dose or something like that, right? Yes, this is really the one that the people are worrying about, right? So if you rely on the decisions that is made by the even sometimes by the leaders, sometimes that's not really accurate, right? I'll give you two examples. One is WHO. Like well, we have for the concept connection, we have two more to go, and then there will I will finish up on the next week, and then we will go into the summer break, and so the I'll try to finish it next week. But let me just finish up today with this story. If you have any questions, you can write in here. But this is the one. When COVID-19 first broke out and then spread, that WHO, this is WHO, right? I believe WHO, World Health Organization, right? Yeah, says, oh, you don't need to wear masks. You, this is the spreading by the large droplets, so you don't have to wear masks. It's nothing, right? So they said, oh, well, we are not gonna make it as a pandemic. We are not gonna announce it as a pandemic. But what happened later, right? Research says that, yeah, when you sneeze or something, and then these smaller, the moistures from the person with the COVID-19 can stay in the room more than 10 minutes, then you might have a higher chance to get the COVID-19. So wear the masks. Then later on, wearing mask is mandatory, right? Indoor, right? Mandatory. Something happens. And think about it. If you trusted the WHO, because they're the leaders and then there are scientists who research it, and let's say you trusted the WHO and you didn't wear the masks, and then let's say you got the COVID-19 and you suffered for like a couple of weeks, very, very severe and almost the what I heard from some of the people that I know of and then got COVID-19. Some of them are okay, and then they said, oh, well, it was like a just a common cold. But some people, what happened? They they told me, well, their friends told me that they suffered like a they just wanted to commit suicide. It was that painful and difficult. And then here, because the unless it is really serious, like unless that the person is really had to go to the ICU intensive care unit, then the emergency crews even they come in and they said that there's nothing really can do, and then just hold on to that and endure the time. That was the what I hear that from those stories that because there's nothing, there's no treatment at the moment, right? Only the vaccination. What treatment is being developed, but it's not fully there. And second example is in from Korea. When there was a the the humidifier that you can find from the local, and then during the winter when it is very dry, then you can use the humidifier to make the increase the humidity in your room, right? And this humidifier is very difficult to clean, and you have to clean very often. But because some of the company developed some the antifungal or chemicals, antibacterial chemicals, and they said if you pour this into the water, then this you won't see that the bacteria growing, and then you won't see that the fungal growing, and then you don't have to even clean, and then that should solve all the issues, cleaning issues. So many people use it by trusting that, and then that was in the even I believe it was in the commercial, right? I don't know. Yeah, and I believe it was in the on the commercial as well. So commercial people trust and they bought it and they used it. what happened? Their lung got damaged. Some of them died, and some of them had lung collapsed, and then they had to breathe with some tubings or something like that, or oxygen masks all the time, or something like that. That happens, right? So the reason that you're developing this brain power is not just for the study. Yeah, it'll increase your study efficiency of your study, but this will provide you to think through and then come up with the reasonings saying that, okay, if that kills the bacteria and fungi, is it fungi or bacteria specific? Then if it kills any cells, then the human body is also made of the cells. If that kills the bacteria and fungi, then it could kill my cells too. So can I say that it's really safe? Then you can take a look at the chemicals and composition of the chemicals and see if they are really specific to the. There are some chemicals that's specific to certain insect or certain plant or something like that. But with these chemicals, you need to take a look at and analyze by yourself. In order for to you to do that, you should have the brain power of thinking processes like this, right? So this is not just for your study, it's for your life, for your protection and prevention and prediction for the future. Okay? So, it's already 5:16, so I'll stop here and I'll come back next week and finish up with the concept connection. Today, that the connecting concept is the most simplest one. Then next week will be a little more advanced one. Okay? All right then. I'll stop here and I'll come back. I'll continue next week. Bye.